content discussed on this program is often medical in nature and is used for informational purposes only. No content discussed should be taken as medical advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Hi, I'm Toree McGee, and welcome to the Rapid Recovery Report brought to you by ROMTech. Now, this is our very first iteration, I guess, of these that we're going to be doing. And what it is that we're going to be doing, in fact, here is talking to surgeons, talking to some of our own ROM stars, as we like to call them, to give you a little bit of information about what we're doing here at ROMTech and to chat a little bit with some surgeons, get some opinions and some conversations going. So we're looking forward to it, and I hope that you guys are too. And with me today, we've got Dr. Carr. Um,
Hello.
we're going to give you a little bit of background information in case you're not super familiar with ROMTech, which is the company that is sponsoring this. They're who I work for, and their product is going to be what we're going to be talking about a little bit today. So the ROM in ROMTech stands for range of motion, and that's kind of our baby. We've got a product called the PortableConnect, and it focuses mostly on lower extremity rehab and PT, with the end result of patients post-surgery, post-injury to recover their entire range of motion. So I think we've got a little picture that's up here, and but let's go ahead and get into talking to Dr. Carr. So a little bit about him. Dr. Carr is a retired sports medicine physician who is widely recognized for his numerous high-level appointments for national teams and international competitions throughout his tenure. Notably, he served as physician to the U.S. Olympic team at the '96 Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta. He served as the head physician during the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, Utah, and he regularly practiced the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. He also was the orthopedic consultant for the Chicago Cubs, among many others. And Dr. Carr has authored several publications. He sat on the editorial board of the American Journal of Arthroscopy and has spoken publicly on many orthopedic and sports medicine related topics. So, welcome, Dr. Carr. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you, Tori. No wonder why I retired. That's a long list.
That's a long list, and that's a lot of really, really impressive work.
Thank you.
All righty, well, let's get right into it. So, we figured it would be appropriate for this episode to talk about sports injury and recovery, because that seems, like right up your alley.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Awesome. Okay, so, I know that you were a baseball player in school, right?
Yeah, in high school, I was a baseball player and a football player, and I actually had aspirations of going and playing, and went on a college football scholarship. And as I have treated many, I tore my knee up and hurt my wrist, and went to the sidelines and decided I probably am not going to make it. So then decided, well, maybe the next thing I ought to be is study rocks. So I went to undergrad and finished up in geology, and then went to geological oceanography and didn't really care much for that. And so I really liked sports. I was watching on TV all the time. So I said, well, what the heck? Let me treat them rather than be one. And rocks and bones are pretty similar. So I applied to med school, got into orthopedics, and had a career in sports medicine.
That's
All meant to
very
be.
interesting. Yeah, no kidding. I don't know that I've talked to an orthopedic surgeon yet who started as you're very unique in that way.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so well, what is the most common sports injury or surgical sports injury that you see?
Well, clearly in a sports medicine practice or you're on the field, the most common injury is a sprained ankle. Now, we don't take many of those to surgery. So when we're talking surgery, it's the lower extremity. It's generally knee cartilage tear, ACL tears, kneecap dislocations, those sorts of injuries that require surgery.
Sure. Okay. And how many of those have you had yourself?
I have an ACL. I've had 4 surgeries on my knee, and each one has had a complication. My patients didn't have many, but I had them all 4 of them. So I sacrificed. It's part of the deal of being a physician, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you have to learn what goes wrong to make sure that that doesn't happen with your own patients.
Exactly.
Okay, so next question. Let's talk about the Portable Connect a little bit. What impact do you think the Portable Connect has had on sports injury recovery, or what impact do you think it will have in the future?
Well, I think there's several aspects of it. I think we have to talk about the level of athlete, and we're talking about like the Olympic and college and professional athlete. I think it has a big role for them, like taking care of national teams. Oftentimes, they will go home and have their surgery, but you have national team coaches and national team presidents and teams that want to follow the progress. So, with the Portable Connect, they can work out all the time at home, which is critically important to these high level athletes. They don't want to get behind.
Mhm.
And their trainer or their coach can follow their progress through the Portable Connects IT and see how they're doing. And then also tell them things they need to do to continue the improvement for their sports specific injury. For the everyday athlete, it's a way to decrease that time mom and dad has to get out of work to take them to physical therapy as often, and they can train at home. And again, they can stay ahead of the curve. And I think that's the real beauty of it, being able to objectively measure how much improvement they have. And we've also found that in this day and age, there's a huge decrease in the amount of pain medication post surgically that either the high level or the just everyday Joe has while being on the Portable Connect versus traditional ways of treating athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that's all been anecdotal, that there's been less pain med, but it definitely makes a difference. I mean, I remember even when I got my wisdom teeth out, they had given me like some pretty serious meds
Yeah.
from recovery, and they just messed with my stomach and everything, and it's hard enough just dealing with regular recovery of things, let alone adding stomach problems and whatever else into it. So
Well, Toree, that's another common sports injury, the wisdom teeth, and I don't really think we'll have a role for the Portable Connect for a while for that injury. But anyway,
yeah, unless we can get something to just move the jaw kind of
yeah,
up and down.
maybe.
Never know what the future will hold, I suppose. So, okay, what is the most important thing to consider, in your opinion, when it comes to recovering from an injury, like a lower extremity sports injury?
Well, I think there's several things. One, I think you have to have the expectations and limit those expectations, especially early on. So one of the beauties of the Portable Connect is that the therapist or the doctor can direct how much motion and how much force you're putting on the bike and can monitor. And there's a shut off if you go too far, because so many people don't want to get behind and they want to stay up to date. And actually they're so self-motivated that they want to overdo it, and so this can be controlled. And then the other thing is that they can go on it 4 or 5 times a day, whether that rather than that one trip to the gym or one trip to the trainer or the physical therapist, they can be on it 4 or 5 times a day, which has a big effect on pain control, range of motion increase, swelling decrease, and all the things that we look for in trying to get people back more rapidly. I don't think it really helps you heal the ligament in or heal the soft tissue in, but all the other things that surround it just feel so much better, so much more quickly.
Yeah, and as I mean, to the non-medical brain, I guess is counterproductive as it sounds, movement is really what keeps swelling injury. Am I right?
Oh, no question. I mean, anyone's had surgery, sits in a chair for a while and with ice or just sits there and then tries to get up. I mean, those first few steps are like daggers. So if we can keep that motion going and your body's used to that and you coordinate the muscles to recreate that, then that's such a big step forward.
Yeah, I mean, my non-sciency brain, everything's like, no, no, movement would agitate it. But I mean, I'll tell you firsthand, I ran my first half marathon when I was much younger. And right after it was over, I hopped in the pool. It was summer, I was through Disneyland was where I ran the
Uh-huh.
half marathon, and hopped into the pool after and just moved around, and I was less sore than I was in my like training for the marathon, just from that movement in the swimming pool against like the resistive water. And that's when it clicked. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, movement does make a big difference in recovery on any level.
Yeah, no question. That's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for high level athletes, often the reason that they're high level and that they've made it into like a professional level of athleticism is their drive and their willingness to do things that other people necessarily aren't willing to do, or they don't even have the energy for. And so it is nice to be able to, I'm sure, as, a surgeon, monitor as well as limit that movement if they tend to want to overdo things all the time.
That's correct. And so many of those movements are sports specific. Ski jumper compared to a figure skater, compared to a track star or soccer player. So that way, with the PortableConnect, the physician and the trainer can coordinate those things that are important for their recovery compared to just regular routine that most people would go through, look up on the internet and say, this is the way we go. So yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely. Well, good. This has all been awesome information. All right, I think I just got maybe one more question for you. So, how can injuries like the ones that we've talked about be avoided, if at all possible?
Well, I think at a high level, most of those are related to either trauma, you fall off the ski jump, or that you overtrain and you get a stress reaction. I think for us everyday people, our injuries are, we don't stretch enough, we don't drink enough water, we don't warm down enough. And so those are overuse and stretching injuries and soft tissue injuries primarily. So it varies depending on what you're doing and what your goals are, but it's usually overuse or trauma versus not warming up and not being prepared.
Sure. I know that there's not much that you can do when something happens and you come into a traumatic injury, right? But as far as stretching for us normal folks, I think it's something that gets overlooked a lot and it can have a real big impact.
Yeah, much like you're swimming after the half marathon. I mean, just the exercise and the motion and the cool down made a huge difference for you.
Yeah, it really did. And I mean, I feel like until you experience something like that necessarily yourself, it doesn't always click. Like I had said for me, of course, if you're a surgeon or in the medical field by trade, it makes a little more sense because that's something you spent a lot of time studying.
Well, we clearly see everything, so we know what not to do. And then the only other thing I would say is I think in the younger generation, we're so sports specific at such a young age. And I think it's very important that we cross train and we do multiple sports and because we develop different muscle groups and different timing. And I think that's critical where you don't start at 10 years old and just focus on one sport. That's when we see a lot of injuries as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well, let me think here if I have anything else that I wanted to ask you before I let you go. I feel so privileged to be talking to someone who's done so many great things in their career. So, let's see. How does well, you're retired now, right? You've done so much, and
I'm tired. Yes.
you have a grand new grandbaby that I think you went to go see yesterday. So lots
I
to
am.
enjoy.
I have very much. I'm my sixth grandchild, so that keeps me
Oh my
busy itself.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, how does a retired surgeon know so much about the PortableConnect if you're not necessarily in practice with athletes anymore?
I got involved 2 or 3 years ago, and I just once in a while that just really, hey, this is going to be great for the patient. It's going to be great for the surgeon. It's going to fill a little hole that we have in a niche in our armor that we have to treat people. And when I see that, and I just say, well, I'd like to get involved in that, and that's what's happened. And I'm a true believer. I actually have said many times, I almost wish I hadn't retired so I could be putting my own patients on it right now. And I've had a couple knee injuries. I could put myself on it as well. So it's I just get excited when I see something like this. It's going to revolutionize post-op rehab care.
Absolutely. And I even myself, when I'm sitting here at my desk all day, often I'm like, I wish I had a portable connect or something just to keep me moving throughout the day, which I'm sure would make a big difference too. So what do you think then, being so interested in seeing it and really being a true believer, what in your opinion makes the portable connect really revolutionary in terms of medicine and recovery?
I think there's two things. One, I think the ability to control someone's rehab from home and from the office or from the therapist remotely. I think the direct connection with a patient and their physician or their therapist is an immense comfort for the patient, and I think it also is a very reassuring for the surgeon. Like, you're worried about someone, how are they doing? Well, you can just check in online and see where they're at. If they're falling behind, and you can reach out and say, hey, are things going okay? Whereas in before, when I was practicing, you just wait for them to come in, or they come in at the 6-week visit, and they're either doing well or, wow, I wish you'd called or told me earlier then so we could have gotten ahead of this. So I think that's a huge benefit for patients and for the medical community.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now we actually have a question that just popped up from someone in Michigan. How do you feel about remotely monitoring patients? And I think you addressed that a little bit, but maybe it's just a personal kind of question.
Well, obviously, you'd rather have them in the office, but they aren't going to be in the office every day. I think that, you lose track of them, especially I would get many patients that came in from around the country. You'd operate on them and then you'd send them home. And as the Portable Connect is getting more nationwide, I could actually monitor them from California and when I'm in Virginia, and I could, I wouldn't do it every day, but if they had a question, they could show me their numbers and I could look at them and I could look at their wound through our telemedicine portal and see where they're at and give them some suggestions, or, hey, you better get in to see someone local and let me call someone to get you in, or you just need reassurance, you're doing fine, or, hey, slow down, you're going too fast.
Yeah.
So all those things I think are very important.
I agree. I think, myself, probably like most people, no offense, I don't like going to the doctor.
I
Uh,
don't.
yeah, I never have. It's never been a thing that I enjoy doing. Maybe it's my inner homebody, but I if I can avoid it, I do. And so for me, I've really appreciated the growth of telemedicine, and especially in times of COVID, I know that, ROMTech didn't plan for nobody planned for COVID or expected it, but we kind of have turned out to be in the right place at the right time. So as far as, telemedicine goes, I guess this kind of goes into the remote patient monitoring. Do you think that telemedicine is going to be something that, number one, will stay in the capacity that it's been during COVID, and number two, grow into, more, I guess, avenues of medicine in the future?
I think we found there are many things that can be done telemedicine wise. I think for me, to examine someone's knee, I mean, I can look at it on, on the camera and things, but I can't really test them and see precisely where it hurts and what maneuvers make it to hurt. So you lose some information that way. And I think we'll go more, if we do more telemedicine, to everyone gets an MRI to, really have the, what exactly is going on inside. So there's good and bad parts. And plus, I think some patients just like to sit in the office and talk with your doctor, and sometimes it's therapeutic. I always thought I didn't like going to doctors either. I just thought that the best way I can leave here is them saying nothing's wrong with me. I mean, everything else from that is a negative. So
Yeah.
I really, if there's something really wrong, uh, you know, I, So anyways, telemedicine, I just hear it on telemedicine, I think, in some regards.
Yeah, I think that hybrid is kind of the way to go too. Because, like you said, there are some things that just you can't really get over a screen.
No, absolutely. No
Yeah,
question about it.
absolutely. And I mean, I love my primary care physician. I think he's wonderful. I didn't like going to the doctor, but once I'm there, it is nice to kind of catch up a little bit
Yeah,
and see
right.
somebody.
Yeah, and
All right.
some of the older patients would come in, and not just they're older, but they would just like to chat. I think it was kind of like like going to see their minister or the priest, just
Yeah.
sort of like, hey, let's just chat. And okay, I got to go see some other patients today, but
Yeah.
it was fun. It made you glad to be a physician for sure.
Absolutely. I love talking to surgeons and doctors who make a real connection with their
Mhm.
patients. And, I mean, obviously, even just talking with you today, you can tell that your demeanor is very warm and caring. And I'm sure that that's a real big reason that you got into medicine in the first place.
Yeah, much better than talking to rocks. That's for sure.
I bet. Did you have a pet rock growing up?
I had a pet rock, of course.
And did that influence your geology interest?
No, I was in civil engineering, but I wasn't smart enough to stay in that. So I said rocks and sand and dirt. So I went that direction instead. So anyway,
Well, we're so glad that you wound up in medicine so that we were able to talk to you today. We really appreciate it.
thank
And
you.
yeah, thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching our very first episode of Rapid Recovery Report. We'll be doing this on a weekly basis. This will be available for replay. So, Dr. Carr, feel free to share it with your friends who want to hear you chat.
I'm
Um,
sure they do. They try to shut
Perfect.
me up. They don't want to hear more of me.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube and our Facebook channels so that you can get more information with awesome doctors like Dr. Carr in the future. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.